On February 5, 2025, President Trump signed an executive order that sent shockwaves through the world of sports and beyond. This order, titled No Men in Women's Sports, effectively bans transgender women and girls from competing in women's sports at all levels in the United States. This is not just about elite athletes. It targets schools, universities, and even grassroots sports programs. This executive order is the latest salvo in a long-running cultural battle over the rights and recognition of transgender individuals. Trump, never one to shy away from controversy, framed the order as a necessary measure to protect women's sports. He argues that allowing transgender women to compete creates an unfair advantage and undermines the integrity of female athletics. The order's reach extends far beyond the playing field. It empowers government agencies, particularly the Department of Education, to withhold federal funding from schools that refuse to comply with the ban. This move places immense pressure on educational institutions to toe the line, potentially jeopardizing the financial well-being of schools that choose to support their transgender students. The ink was barely dry on the executive order before reactions began pouring in from all corners of society. Supporters of the ban, including prominent figures like House Speaker Mike Johnson and former college swimmer Riley Gaines, lauded the move as a victory for fairness and a return to biological reality in sports. They argue that transgender women, having gone through male puberty, have inherent physical advantages that cannot be erased by gender transition. On the other side of the aisle, LGBTQ+ advocacy groups and allies condemned the executive order as discriminatory, cruel, and rooted in fear-mongering. Organizations like the Human Rights Campaign and Lambda Legal immediately vowed to challenge the ban in court, arguing that it violates fundamental civil rights and targets some of the most vulnerable members of our society. The NCAA, the governing body for college athletics, found itself caught in the crosshairs of this heated debate. NCAA President Charlie Baker acknowledged the need for clear and consistent eligibility standards for transgender athletes, but stopped short of outright condemning or endorsing the ban. This cautious approach reflects the complex challenges facing sporting organizations as they grapple with evolving societal norms and legal landscapes. Trump's executive order did not confine itself to American borders. In a move that further inflamed tensions, Trump called upon the International Olympic Committee, IOC, to adopt a similar ban on transgender athletes in time for the 2028 Olympic Games set to take place in Los Angeles. He tasked Secretary of State Marco Rubio with delivering this message directly to the IOC, signaling his intent to exert American influence on the international sporting stage. This call to action sets the stage for a showdown between the United States and the IOC, which has historically maintained a more inclusive stance on transgender athletes' participation in the Olympics. The IOC's current guidelines, while requiring transgender athletes to meet certain testosterone level requirements, have been criticized by some as insufficient to ensure a level playing field. Trump's pressure on the IOC injects another layer of complexity into the already fraught debate surrounding transgender athletes. It remains to be seen how the IOC will respond to this pressure campaign, and whether other countries will follow Trump's lead in pushing for more restrictive policies on the global stage. The executive order banning transgender athletes from women's sports is not an isolated incident. It is inextricably linked to a series of policy decisions made by the Trump administration that have targeted the transgender community. From his early days in office, Trump has taken aim at transgender rights, banning transgender individuals from serving in the military, and restricting access to gender-affirming care for transgender youth. This latest executive order is a culmination of these efforts, and its potential long-term impact on the transgender community is profound. By codifying discrimination against transgender individuals in the realm of sports, Trump is sending a clear message that their identities are not valid and that they are not welcome in spaces traditionally designated for women. The true legacy of this executive order will be written in the lives of transgender youth across the country. By denying them the opportunity to participate fully in sports, Trump risks further marginalizing and isolating a group already facing disproportionate rates of bullying, discrimination, and violence. Only time will tell if this executive order will stand up to legal scrutiny and whether future administrations will choose to uphold or dismantle this divisive piece of legislation.